All right, hello. Hope you're having an awesome day. This is Chris Badgett from LifterLMS, and in this video, I'm going to go over the best tools in the industry to create an online course platform. So I'm just going to jump right into it. The first thing you need to do when you're building a learning management system is you need to think about the website. How are you going to put your school online or your online course online, whether you're a solopreneur looking to come out with your first course, or an organization looking to provide corporate training, or you're a more traditional school who wants to add in an online component. That one of the very first things you need to think about is how you're going to bring that educational content online. So one of the most important tools that I recommend is a tool I helped create called LifterLMS. I've been dealing with membership sites, creating online courses, building websites for myself, for clients, doing a lot in the WordPress community. And I took all that experience, all that knowledge, and co-created LifterLMS with a powerful team of like-minded folks who brought a lot of different skills to the table. But LifterLMS is a WordPress learning management system plugin that makes it easy to create, sell, and protect your online courses. So if you want to check out more about LifterLMS itself, go ahead and head on over to LifterLMS.com. It looks like this. You can read all about what it's like to create a course with LifterLMS, maybe click on the demo and check that out. So WordPress, that's the next most important tool, and I mentioned that again because WordPress is a powerful content management system. People think often when they hear it, if they're not familiar with WordPress at a deep level, that it's just about blogging and creating blog content. But WordPress can do a lot more than that. It can also be used to build web applications. In this case, what we're talking about is we're using it not just as a blog publishing platform, but as a course publishing platform. So LifterLMS works with WordPress. It is a way to create an online school with a website very quickly with just WordPress plus LifterLMS. So one way to think about it is WordPress's mission for a long time was to democratize publishing. We come in here with our goal is to democratize education. So we're just building on top of the great community at WordPress and the accessibility of WordPress and the extensibility of WordPress to bring you LifterLMS so you can build your online course, you can get it to market very quickly, or you can start building out your online school very quickly. I also want to mention Beaver Builder. Beaver Builder is a page building plugin. It also has its own theme, and it's a really powerful tool to make it easy to build out a website with custom layouts without necessarily knowing how to code or even having to hire a developer. So in the same way that LifterLMS helps democratize education, Beaver Builder, it's a WordPress page building system that makes it easy, or it democratizes the accessibility of creating a layout on a website and customizing it and tweaking it without having to code. So I really recommend you check out Beaver Builder. It's a WordPress page builder. It has its own theme, works great with LifterLMS. Check that out. So that's kind of the software layer, but we're going to need to host this website. We have to put it somewhere on a hosting account on a server somewhere so that your learning management system can exist and people from all over the world can come and check out your website and buy your courses or enroll if your courses are free. So there's hosting is like a vast sea of options out there. So I wanted to really streamline it for you. I wanted to give you a couple of simple options, a medium, and then some more advanced options. So I'm going to start with Godaddy and Bluehost. Those are great economy web hosts. They've been around for a while. If you're just getting started, you might consider just starting with a basic shared hosting account, which as of this recording is probably going to cost you somewhere between $5 and $10 a year, which is really incredible. And I'm sorry, I mean $5 to $10 a month for your web hosting. So it ends up being pretty economical to start with one of those options. They're both known for having good 24/7 support. So I encourage you to check out GoDaddy and Bluehost. Media Temple is a more mid-level option. You're starting to get into they're kind of known for going above and beyond with their support. So if you want something that's a little more expensive, but maybe the support you might find a little more agreeable, or maybe just more options within the support feed, check out Media Temple. Another kind of medium to high option is WP Engine. So I encourage you to check those guys out. They're kind of designed for WordPress sites. So check out WP Engine if you're looking for a managed WordPress host. And managed hosting means things like they'll back up your site for you, they'll update your plugins for you and your theme, that sort of thing. But you want to check in with WP Engine, look at the details. For the really advanced high traffic sites, really custom hosting accounts, you want to check out something like Amazon Web Services. And this site right here, the LifterLMS blog, we do get a lot of traffic. LifterLMS.com over here, this is hosted on Amazon Web Services. So that's kind of a higher end, more scalable cloud hosting option. It's a little more technical. It's hard to get in the door if you're non-technical or don't have a system administrator on your team. But if you're kind of growing out of the shared basic options, you might consider Amazon Web Services, or AWS as it's known. So when you're building an online course, you also are going to need to think about email management and email marketing. There's a couple different things. We recorded an episode at LMS Cast. That's our learning management system podcast. Check that out if you haven't seen it, lmscast.com. And going to throw out a couple options here. One is ActiveCampaign. It's a great marketing automation tool. So for example, you can use it as your CRM, and if you need to kind of import a mailing list and kind of have a marketing list or some kind of automated marketing funnels, that type of thing, I recommend something like ActiveCampaign. If you're just starting out, you might consider going with the MailChimp account, which is free to get going and get started and get your feet wet. Eventually, if your email list grows too big, you'll need to pay, or if you want to turn on some of the more premium features. I do highly recommend MailChimp. I've been using MailChimp on some of my projects for years, and it's a great option as well. LifterLMS, our learning management system plugin, has these things called engagements. And one type of engagement is an email engagement where you can trigger off emails at various touch points within your learning management system. So like when a user first registers on the site, you could fire off a personalized email. Or let's say after a learner completes lesson 1 of a course, you could fire off an email. You could even put a delay on it, like 2 days later, just to follow up with them to make sure they're staying engaged and going to lesson 2. Another one that LifterLMS Engagements can do is actually the reverse, where if somebody hasn't logged in X number of days, you could fire off a personal email and try to get those people re-engaged. So check out LifterLMS Engagements. It's one of the unique things that makes LifterLMS unique in the WordPress learning management system space. Another important tool when you're just getting started is you really need to think seriously about storage and backups and passwords. When we get into learning these days, content is so huge. Just think about the amount of content that goes into complex degree programs. If you spend all this time crafting a learning experience, you're going to need to kind of think about backing things up and storing your files and maybe protecting your passwords if you start getting a lot of systems going to keep everything together. So we recommend Google Drive. It's part of the Google Apps Suite for storing files. Dropbox is another great option. Evernote is a great tool for kind of archiving what you find around the web and just kind of trying to automate your brain to free up capacity to focus on other things. 1Password is a great tool for archiving passwords, and I use that personally. I grew to a point where, first you can't remember your password anymore, or because you have so many, or you stop using the same one because you get excited about security. And then, you start using a spreadsheet, and then, I'm a professional in this industry, and there's a lot of services I use. So, once that spreadsheet grew to 400 or 500 or 1,000 rows, whatever it was, I was like, wait a second, I need to invest in a tool to kind of make this easier to manage and keep updated. So I highly recommend 1Password for that. Also, within WordPress itself, it's good to have automated backups happening. I recommend a free plugin called Backup WordPress, and then another one called Backup Buddy. Check those out, and those can give you a powerful tool to help keep all your stuff, your files backed up, and you can kind of store them on your web server, and you can send them to other places. So I would encourage you to explore that. The other thing you can do is a local download. I recommend through your web hosting company or through your backup plugin occasionally backing up your entire website, your entire online course platform in a zip file and downloading that and keeping that locally so that, worst case scenario, you have some kind of copy of your website. Then I recommend actually duplicating that again and putting it on a hard drive and keeping it somewhere else. And then the other thing I recommend doing is for you to call your web hosting company. If you don't already know, they probably have some kind of backup measures in place. Maybe some they do for everybody, maybe some are premium features, but it's really good to have multiple backups of your learning management system, locally on your server, somewhere else, and have different options if things were to go wrong. If you were to get hacked, if your server were to explode and there was no copy of your website anymore, you really want to think seriously about this, especially if you're building an online course platform that's built to last. Now, the next thing I want to get into is project management. I've tried a lot of different tools out there. My number one tool for managing tasks, and I work in a team environment, so you may find a simpler list app to be more helpful for you, but for me, where I'm managing teams, I'm giving tasks to myself, other people are giving me tasks, I really like Asana. And then the other tool, it's not really project management in the sense that it's not for creating tasks and managing tasks and completing tasks, but it's Slack. Slack is a fast-growing kind of communication tool that just sort of replaces email, and it has drastically reduced the need for email. It's great for teams. I highly recommend checking out Slack if you have a team building around your learning management system to help keep a nice open communication, especially if you're working remotely and perhaps you need to have some conversation and make it easy for people to connect. Now, creating the written content for your learning management system, WordPress by itself is a super powerful tool. When you create a lesson, I always say there's two types of people when it comes to instructional design. There's the top-down, big picture, let me build the architecture, let me build the skeleton, and then I'm going to, fill in the details around my big picture vision. Other people just like to name a course, throw up lesson one, and start creating lesson one and see where it goes. No way is better than the other, but WordPress is great for that. And with a tool like LifterLMS, you can take that top-down approach and build the bones or the architecture of your learning program, or you can just create lesson one and start typing and see what happens. A lot of people also use Google Docs, especially if they're collaborating on the instructional material. Google Docs is part of the Google Apps Suite, and it's a great way to, start writing the content for a lesson and then have somebody else comment on it or help write it with you, especially if you're in a multi-teacher situation. So I highly recommend Google Docs. I just want to give a shout out too to using the good old-fashioned piece of paper. We get so inundated that there's an app for everything, and I need to put something on a dry erase board here, or I need to use this technology to create my lesson. But I actually just want to recommend sometimes, especially in the early stages when you're really trying to flesh out that idea, don't let technology get in your way. Pull out a piece of paper and use a pen, pencil, start writing, cross things out, do mind maps, go abstract, or get super organized, however you want to do it. But the paper can be very powerful, especially if you're feeling stuck with your technology and you have all these interruptions coming in through your computer, I recommend getting outside and grabbing a piece of paper. And a dry erase and whiteboard is also great, especially for more complex learning material, because sometimes the paper is just not big enough and you can't expand out. You can't show the flow of the learning experience. So I'm a big dry erase board guy myself. When it comes to video, I recommend Screenflow for Mac users and Camtasia for PC users. These are screen recording applications, but they can also record through the camera. I'm actually recording this video right now with Screenflow. These are really great tools. You can actually use them just to do audio if you want. I'm a Mac user, so I absolutely love iMovie too for editing video. Screenflow is also great for editing video on a Mac. And then I just want to give a shout out to Fiverr. If you haven't found Fiverr yet, where have you been? It's fun, it's neat. It's the whole premise is, what will people do for $5? I've had videos made for $5 on Fiverr. Now these aren't like feature length anything. They're just maybe like a 5-second fancy video with my logo, just to kind of put at the beginning and spice up my lesson videos, or at the end, and that sort of thing. So if you're looking for a little just kind of accents to your video production that you might want to squeeze into your workflow, just check out Fiverr, see what they got in the graphic design department, especially video. Creating audio files, you can use something like GarageBand. You can use, which is on a Mac. You can use Screenflow again. There's a service on the web called Audacity. You can even just use your smartphone. So just I wouldn't let the technology get in the way. Just focus on actually dropping that audio track and getting it recorded, and then focus on the editing it, getting it inside the lesson later. Now, images are a really important part of creating course material. There's this great website called Unsplash, which has a commercial reuse free, royalty free. It's called the Creative Commons Zero license. Highly recommend it. Super high quality. I've been looking for that website for years, so let me know in the comments if you like what you find at Unsplash, because I was really excited when I first found it. I hope you are too. iStock is just the classic big stock photography marketplace. Great place to find images if you need some stock. And then Fiverr again, for $5, you never know what you can find there. You need somebody to create an infographic for you. You need somebody to take a picture and add text on top and make it look good. You might give Fiverr a try for that as well. Now, when you're working with a learning management system and you're teaching, sometimes you get into the calendar, scheduling, needing to do meetings either with your students or with your team around your platform. Google Calendar, can't beat it in my opinion. I'm a Mac fanboy. First thing I do is I remove, on my iPhone, is I get the iCal out of the way and drop in the Google Calendar app, because I use it for everything. I just love that calendar interface, and it's what I use for managing my personal and work calendar and things I have going on with my courses. There's a service called Zoom, which I highly recommend if you're looking to do one-on-one or group meetings or even webinars. I've always thought that if something was a little better than GoToMeeting, GoToWebinar, it would crush it. And so far, I've been with Zoom for I think it's been about 4 months now, and I'm just really digging it. So highly recommend it. They have great screen recording opportunities, functionality in there. So if you want to do a meeting or a webinar and then take that footage, turn it into a video to go inside your learning management system, it's just an awesome tool. I've been really digging it. Skype, it's a classic. Skype is a great way to connect with your team and do one-on-one with your students. It's also free. Zoom does cost a certain amount per month. Google Hangouts is another great free option if you're part of the Google ecosystem, or you want to do make it easy to get your videos directly onto YouTube from your Google Hangouts, since Google owns both Hangouts and YouTube. I recommend experimenting with that. The most important thing with those things is not really your preference, in my opinion. It's what the end users, the customers of your customers, what your clients are going to be comfortable with. That's the technology you should use. Everybody's going to, or most people will resist change and trying on a new system, but it's really important, especially for the live interaction with your students and keeping people engaged, that the technology doesn't become a hurdle. So figure out what works with your audience and go for it. Another part of running an online course business is doing a launch of your course, a product launch, a release, a new semester, whatever you want to call it. One of the cool things about LifterLMS is the actual course description can display a different message whether or not you're signed in and enrolled in the course versus you're just a visitor checking out that course, which allows you to create a sales page on one hand, but then the users who are logged in and enrolled, they see a different page. So they don't have to see that sales message again, which has like maybe some testimonials or other content on there. So yeah, that's one of the cool things about LifterLMS and kind of the integrated sales page if you use that. Beaver Builder, also another great tool for modifying the layout of your message inside your description. Some people, especially if they come from a more internet marketing style background, gravitate towards a service called LeadPages for creating launch pages and opt-in pages. It's a really great service. We've used that at LifterLMS for some of our launches. And yeah, it's just a really powerful template based on websites or landing pages that convert into leads or sales. So if you're kind of more in the advanced internet marketing world, you might consider using a tool like LeadPages to help build momentum and like pre-sell your course even before you've built your learning management system. ActiveCampaign, it's another great tool we talked about in email marketing, but if you want to build up a sequence and kind of plan out your launch and have some automated marketing things and communications happen after someone opts into your interest list and clicks on links or visits certain pages, ActiveCampaign is great for that. Another thing that happens is you're going to need to take money for your courses. If you're just doing free courses, don't worry about it, it's all good. But if you do need to take money, really the global standard is PayPal for just e-commerce. And LifterLMS, for example, PayPal works out of the box. If you're not already using PayPal, you probably should. Especially, this video I'm broadcasting from the United States, but in other parts of the world, people are more familiar with PayPal or use it more likely to use it. So I usually recommend that you should have a PayPal option, especially if you're trying to reach a global audience. If you're trying to accept credit cards directly on your site, I recommend an awesome gateway called Stripe, which is incredible for collecting the money without. Stripe kind of handles all the security and the payment details, but allows you to accept that credit card directly on your site. And we have a LifterLMS integration for that to make it easy to get paid by credit card directly on your sales page. So that's a really powerful tool. I'm also a big lover of FreshBooks for invoicing, for time tracking. For example, if you want to work out a custom deal with a corporation or somebody who wants to buy a bunch of seats to a course or something, and you're just working out your own deal kind of by email or even offline, FreshBooks is a great system for sending invoices and things like that. So check out FreshBooks. At LifterLMS, we're really big about automation and scaling the human touch. And there's the engagements I mentioned, the emails. You can also trigger off badges or achievements and certificates based on user action in the system. So that's part of the learning management system of it, where you can automate the delivery of these things in a personalized way. We call that scaling the human touch. So check out what's possible with LifterLMS Engagements if you're considering trying to bring some automation to your learning management system. Zapier is also a really powerful tool that allows you to kind of connect apps together. So is Ifttt or Ifttt, which stands for if this then that. They're very similar, but if you want to connect some kind of text messaging thing based on an email, or if somebody something happens on Twitter, you want it to automatically populate a spreadsheet. If you can think of it, it's probably possible with Zapier or Ifttt, which stands for if this then that. So if you have that idea, just explore those options, and that might be something. Just to give you one more example, if somebody emails this assignment or whatever, add it to this folder in Google Drive. That's not the best example, but just check it out. Zapier and Ifttt. Team building. There's nothing wrong with being an army of one, but if you're getting to the point where you need some help and you can't do it all anymore, you're trying to be the entrepreneur, you're trying to be the educator, trying to be the marketer, you're trying to sell everything, accountant, all these things. When it comes time to build your team, I highly recommend a service called Upwork for finding freelancers. Maybe you just need somebody for a one-off graphic design project that's bigger than like a $5 gig on Fiverr. You want to invest like in some kind of complex infographic, or you just need some kind of tweak to your website, from a developer or other designer. Let's say you need a designer to do a new logo for you. Check out Upwork. It's just like an international marketplace of freelancers. It's very large, but I've had good success with it, and I really recommend it. Another thing that often gets overlooked is Craigslist. Craigslist is one of the ugliest sites on the internet, but it's also one of the most useful, and I think that's why it's in the top 40 or 30 visited websites in the world, because it's so useful to have this global classified ad service. So you can find good people on Craigslist. Especially, it might surprise you what you find in your local community. Or let's say you want to go somewhere else. Let's say you're in a big city and you in the US, and you want to see what you can find in a different part of the country that's more rural and has a lower cost of living. You might be able to find somebody to do the same job that you could hire locally for half the price, and so on. So Craigslist is great. You never know what you're going to get. I always recommend giving it a shot, whether you're looking for administrative help or development or design or business, marketing, accounting, whatever it is. Try posting an ad on Craigslist and see what you can get. Another great service is called Hire My Mom. It's a great place to find remote workers, essentially built on the premise that there's a lot of wonderful, highly skilled women who have left the workplace and focused on raising the kids, but they still have this great education experience, and they're looking for some freelance side income. And there's some really, truly wonderful people that I've met through that service, so I highly recommend that. Awesome. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it's long, but I would just want to emphasize the point that I spent a very long time with the internet, building websites, building learning management systems, building learning management system software with a talented team. And these tools, this is a long list, but these tools are highly curated, because trust me when I say it's easy to get distracted and you go in and you're looking for a tool to do something for your online course or your online course website. This is a curated list. I hope you enjoy it. If you want to add something to the list, I'd love to hear about it in the in the comments of this post, which you can find at blog.lifterlms.com. And I'd love to hear your reaction. If there's anything you want to add or any comments about this video and this post, so Check this post out at blog.lifterlms.com, and I wish you all the best with your learning management system.